Thanks for coming. My name is Kwonyoup, and I'm a security engineer and the founder of Ascent Works. We have prepared for this talk as much as we can. Please get in touch with us. Well, I begin the talk. Much of our work involves assessing embedded system security and finding vulnerabilities. Recently, I've been interested in testing to verify vendor claims. And while their product provides security value, proving that value is difficult or impossible. Suppliers also need more reliable information about their products. In this respect, it is worthwhile to analyze proprietary RF protocols, as the RF world still has much to explore in security. So, as part of the project, Black Hat Europe presented drone RF link security last year. This year at Black Hat Asia, we will discuss RF security used in door locks. We'll look at the wireless door lock system in the background and use our previous research to see if we can attack this system. Explains why existing research wireless attack techniques can be applied at the code level. And it also provides a way to attack door locks practically. Additionally, it explained how to analyze wireless signal and described techniques for lock picking tools capable of attack actual wireless door locks. Narrowband RF technology has gained popularity for IoT communication, providing improved signal quality, spectral efficiency, and reduced interference. It is ideal for low-power wireless communication system, making it a great option for wireless sensor and other IoT device. In Korea, device using the 447 MHz frequency band must be certified by the KCC. It seems that digital door lock using this frequency band have recently become more popular, resulting in more KCC certification being issued. A wireless door lock system is security mechanism allowing access to the door without a physical key. When a visitor rings the doorbell, a request is sent to the wall pad via NTSC, PAL, or serial. The person in the house checks the screen and opens the door lock through the wall pad switch. Currently, the wireless switch is also interlocked inside the wall pad. Another method is to use separative wireless controller to open the door when the wall pad and wireless controller do not work. Recently, a door lock function that opens the door with smartphone is also supported. This talk explores the security of remote door locks, which have become a popular alternative to traditional lock and key systems. We analyzed over 20 models from 10 vendors in Korea and discovered vulnerabilities such as rollback, loopback, and forgery attacks. Additionally, we found that some door locks have been weak encryption algorithms that can be easily guessed, allowing attackers to gain access. Our research also suggested that this doorlock can be exploited for lock picking purpose. The doorlock locks has a board configured in several ways to open the door wirelessly. The difference is whether the radio signal to open the door is received and authenticated by the main MCU or RX MCU. It is necessary to identify the subject of analysis to understand the authentication mechanism in detail. In this study, the TX MCU that generates a wireless signal is the primary analysis target. And RX MCU or main MCU was analyzed when this is a complex environment. Generally, it has been confirmed that the FSK RF chip is mainly used for cost reduction and transmission cost reduction in doorlock implementation. In this study, authentication vulnerability was analyzed by extracting from TX MCU. If the manufacturer restricted the debugging connection, the analysis target was analyzed using RX MCU or mainboard MCU and wireless signal. Next, the main speaker, Seungjoon, explained the details of the doorlock's vulnerability analysis technology and the art of lock picking tools.
Hi, I will continue to talk. I will explain the weakness that exists in current digital doorlock products by comparing them to the three principles of implementing a secure routing code. Additionally, I will provide demo videos of real-world attacks. To ensure secure routing transmission, it's crucial to prevent any transmission from being repeated. This can be achieved by ensuring that each transmitted message has different content, and the receiver should ignore messages that have already been sent. In this chapter, we will explore previous studies on rollback and rollback attacks and their significance in the context of the doorlocks. And we also show our new attack method, the loop playback attack. We will examine how these attacks work and potential weakness they can exploit in doorlock system. Routing code is a technique to prevent the replay attacks and ensure non-repeatability in one-way RF system. These techniques are not specific to automobiles and can be applied to other systems that use RF, such as garage door and smart door locks. If we had a shout a passcode open sesame, anytime we wanted to unlock our device, anybody could listen then steal our device by repeating the same passcode. Routing code is a security system using a one-way protocol system that generates a single-use passcode to prevent code repetition or reuse. The use of fixed code systems started declining in the early 2000s as more secure alternatives like routing code system became available. But they may still be in use in some industries. As you can see, this doorlock has ID authentication information and a transmission error checksum, and there is no counter value. Therefore, these doorlocks are vulnerable to forgery attacks as well as replay attacks. The rollback is a variant of replay attack. In summary, the attacker intercepts and stores the unused key fob signals. The attack jams the first signal while capturing it causing interference between the key fob and the car. They then repeat the process for the second signal. When the owner uses the key fob again, the attacker forwards the first captured signal to unlock the car. After owner leaves, the attacker can use the unused second signal to gain access to vehicle. This attack is inevitable weakness in one-way protocols, making it difficult to avoid because no timestamp. The fact that most doorlocks are located indoors and operate on a very narrow bandwidth can make them more vulnerable to jamming attacks. TMI, but we can check the 30 kilohertz range not completely overlapping with the original signal was most effective. But there are two main drawbacks of ROJAM. First is the precision of timing, so attacker must be very precise their action carefully. Second is attacker can only launch the attack once, so if they want to access the same door again, they have to start over from beginning. Rollback attack was disclosed last year as a new attack method. This attack involves exploiting some unclear weakness to capture and replay two consecutive unlocked signals, allowing authorized access to vehicle. Rollback has two critical advantages over ROJAM. Firstly, once an attacker captures the signal, they can launch the rollback at any time in the future. Secondly, if the attacker only needs to capture two signals once, and they will have unlimited access to that vehicle. It is interesting to note that rollback attack can also occur in doorlock system. We were able to identify the root cause of the attacks in the binary code. This product always keeps track of the last accepted counter, but the issue here is the doorlock needs to save the counter value in memory whenever a buried message is received. Eventually, if an attacker replays a previously used message, the doorlock's counter variable, which is used for comparison, will roll back to the counter value of the replayed signal. So the secondary signal does not have to be strictly consecutive. The attacker can capture any subsequent unlock signal that unlock the door and use it to unlock the door. Eventually, in either case, if the received signal is buried, the counter value included in packet is stored in memory and compared to next value to be transmitted. Therefore, this can be referred to as rolling back the comparison variable to the previous counter. If the system is implemented in this way, security threats such as rollback attack can occur. So let me show you a demo video of a doorlock rollback attack. We captured the consecutive two signals. This time we attempt a new attack method inspired by the rollback attack. It can be likened to playing the same song on the repeat on tape. We captured three consecutive signals, combined them into one, and transmitted them using loop playback. It is worth noting that the three signals were not strictly consecutive, although it took about maximum 10 minutes to open the door at once. Once an attacker captured the signals, the rollback attack can be launched at any time in the future. In this presentation, we cannot clearly identify the root cause, but it is likely related to buffer length of the buried counter. This attack takes anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, so I have prepared a video with the increased playback speed of your convenience. To prevent variant replay attacks, the system should adhere to principle that system keep track of last used code, and never accept a previously used counter. By implementing this principle, even if attacker try to reuse previously used counter, the system strictly rejects it and maintains security. In addition, the system must securely store the recorded counter value in memory and implement a careful comparison mechanism. The evaluation on a limited set of doorlocks or replay attack is shown in the following table. In this chapter, we will explore vulnerabilities in the RF encryption of doorlocks. In a rolling code system, there is typically a shared secret between the TX and the RX. This shared secret is used to generate synchronization counters that are unique and unpredictable for each transmission. Another purpose of the shared secret is to encrypt the entire content so that it can only be read by the intended RX. This makes it difficult for an attacker to predict and replicate the code. In this chapter, we will focus on confidentiality in smart door RF communication, and we will discuss it based on real-world example. Before we dive into the topic, let me explain the three methods for management of shared secret key in one-way RF system. Firstly, the pre-programmed fixed key is a simple and cost-effective solution. It may not provide the same level of security as other methods due to the use of common key for all transmission. Pre-programmed random key provides better security as the key are randomly generated, but lost key may prevent new transmitters from being used if they do not have a running mechanism. Secondly, deriving the encryption key from the received data is another method that can be effective in generating unique keys for each transmission, but it may be vulnerable to hacking attempts. Lastly, the most secure method for enhancing the security of rolling code is transmitting a seed value during the running time, which allows the receiver to derive the encryption key from the seed value, making it difficult to attack to predict or guess the key. This block diagram represents reconstructed formal code of the decryption scheme for encrypted packet received by doorlocks. It has been observed that all currently available doorlocks that use the AES-based rolling code system. The structure involves taking a hard-coded initial vector and plain text as input and using key 1 as the first block key to generate the key for the next encryption block. The AES encryption of the next block uses the previous block's encrypted result as decryption key to decrypt the actual received message. In that sense, the decryption key for the current block is generated using the previous block ciphertext, which is then used to decrypt the current block. The security of this encryption scheme is heavily reliant on the strength of the initial key 1 and the generation method used for it. If the key 1 generation method is weak, or if the hard-coded initial vector and plain text are known, the entire encryption scheme becomes vulnerable. Let's take a look at the key 1 generation process that we have uncovered through formal analysis. The key 1 generation process has some security concerns. The process involves using the first byte of a received packet as seed to generate the decryption key, which is expanded to 16 bytes. Although this method can be useful for key synchronization between the transmitter and receiver, it has its drawbacks. The actual number of keys that can be generated based on the first byte is limited to 256. Vendors also attempt to hide the sequential nature of the counter by employing techniques such as bit masking. However, this approach is still relatively easy for hackers to detect and exploit. Eventually, the first byte of the transmitted packet is utilized as the seed for key generation in this scheme. Some vendors prefer to use a simple counter in place of the packet first byte to generate the key. To consider the sequential nature of the counter, some vendors may employ techniques such as bit masking. This involves manipulating certain bits of the counter to obscure its sequential nature and make it appear more random. Additionally, certain doorlock vendor rely on predefined table rules for key seed generation. These tables are typically unique to each vendor, customized and preset. Vendors anticipate that utilizing these tables will lead to creation of unpredictable and secure keys. Nevertheless, because these tables have short lengths and fixed barrier across all product line on firmware, they remain vulnerable. As mentioned at the beginning of the chapter, this approach is a form of deriving the encryption key from received data. Indeed, the issue with this method is vulnerability to hacking attempts if their key generation process is predictable. As a result, even with changed encryption key, an attacker could decrypt the ciphertext at any time. Interestingly, the key generation seed serves as a synchronous counter directory, making it easy for attacker to forge or bury the next message using the current sync counter. If the specific implementation encryption algorithm, including key generation and RP transfer mechanism, is exposed, it could potentially enable an attacker to compromise other devices with similar implementations. Now let's shift our focus to proprietary encryption algorithm by certain vendor. If we are being precise, it seems that this method is not to encrypt the entire content of the packet, but rather to conceal the rolling counter. It uses shared secret and generates a sequence based on that. This method combines substitution and operator tables to generate a rolling code counter. During the running time, the secret is transmitted, which can be referred to as a pre-programmed cipher key using a running mechanism, as mentioned at the beginning of the chapter. Then it can be seen that the key factor in the security of this algorithm is whether it is effectively considering the counter. The analysis of the corrected packet reveals some interesting findings. The algorithm produces an 8-byte rolling code with generally insignificant variation in result values, because its inconsistent pattern code may be due to the absence of a permutation in encryption algorithm. Moreover, the bytes that did exhibit noticeable change showed a clear pattern of increase or decrease. This observation suggests that the algorithm may have vulnerabilities in terms of its security. The evaluation on the limited set of doorlock for encryption is shown in the file table. Vendors using AES encryption in their products have similar weakness in their encryption and the key generation schemes. Some vendors using proprietary encryption method lack permutation feature in their encryption algorithm, making it relatively easy to predict the next code, leading to security weakness. Although not covered in this talk, vendors using XTEA encryption algorithm have been found to be hard-coded fixed key. When using a one-way RF protocol where a challenging response system is not possible, the common method for access authorization is simple ID verification. Each device is assigned a unique ID by the factory, and the receiver verifies the transmitted ID to guarantee access. To mitigate brute force attacks, the assigned ID for doorlocks should be unique and non-guessable and non-sequential. The serial number is used to uniquely identify each doorlock product, and it is included in RF message sent to the doorlock. It verifies the serial number to confirm that the message was sent from a valid doorlock product, and then perform an authentication process followed by authorization process to determine whether to unlock or lock the door. The process of checking the serial number can be considered as an authorization step. It ensures that only matched transmitters are able to communicate with the receiver and control the lock or other device. This function is used to compute the pattern of input data by applying a rotation 1 of 3 arrays based on the value of the key seed. This has been observed in some doorlock products that use the AES cipher. Although this function is limited to mapping it out to one of 16 patterns, the selected array is randomly transformed based on the value. This makes it harder for attackers to reverse engineer the original data. Typically, this function is implemented as strategy to increase customer confidence in the product and gain competitive advantage. But it is important to keep in mind that this function alone is not sufficient to ensure the security of the system. From our lock-picking attack perspective, if the ID or value are sequential or have a limited variation, attacker can easily initiate a brute force attack to guess the target ID value. What is interesting is when the same product is distributed and installed in large quantities during the building interior construction stage, there is possibility that the ID value may become predictable. In such case, the ID value of the product may have a certain pattern which can be easily exploited to predict the next doorlock values. Therefore, it is crucial to use the unique ID value to mitigate potential attack. In this chapter, we will briefly introduce our RF locking tool and provide a guide for its preparation. The tool we are developing is aimed at capturing and decoding doorlock signal as well as generating and send custom packets. To successfully transmit and receive signal for our tools, it is crucial to gather information from the RF parameters and the baseband. We'll explore the doorlocks in the RF domain and show how easily tool can be created to exploit them. To obtain the correct signal, it is important to know the accurate center frequency and deviation. Most of doorlocks use almost the same frequency band and deviation. The frequency bandwidth used is generally below 240 kHz with a deviation of less than 2 kHz. If we know the accurate center frequency, the pre-built tools such as URH can use the quadrature demode method to almost perfectly demode BFS signals. One thing to note is that RF signal has a very narrow deviation frequency. This might cause interference in the IF signal due to the nonlinear mixing process, especially when using the RF1. Another way, tapping into the connection between the RFIC and the MCU on the target is a good option for obtaining the baseband signal. This method can provide a more accurate and reliable signal. Generally, in packing mode, the preamble and sync word are used for data handler of chip to obtain timing synchronization between the RX and TX. But in the case of the doorlock, they do not use preamble and sync word in RF chip data handler. They could add unique training sequence at beginning of each packet to signal start of packet to the receiver. This can be seen as a type of training sequence for STO that may only provide coarse timing synchronization. Therefore, obtaining the correct pattern and timing of the training symbol is crucial. Most products use low TX mode instead of packing mode, and proprietary baseband encoding is often used in this mode. The primary reason for using this mode seems to be ensure compatibility between the disparate RF chips in TX and RX and to differentiate their product from other vendors. This custom encoding method applies very simple variable length encoding based on duration of low and high signal for binary representation. This is our simple SDR block of doorlocks. This is capable of analyzing packet from a RF signal and generating custom packet to send over the signal. It is designed to perform a full attack snip and unlock and lock picking without sniffing. This device is our cost-effective version, and it allows an attacker to plant it near target property and exploit in coverty. If a battery is connected and the device is hidden in discrete location, an attacker could potentially use this device attached near the house to snip or send a signal. The device is equipped with EEPROM storage, allowing an attacker to read out the captured signal from the device. In this chapter, we prepare scenario and demos. included where RF lock-picking tools are used to attack rear door locks. The two methods of attack for opening someone else's home door, firstly intercepting a signal to extract ID and counter information to generate the next code. Secondly, attempting to generate a new code without any intercepting the signal using brute force by trying different IDs. However, running code-based systems have a security feature that relies on the last accepted counter value to determine the expected counter. This means that even if an attacker can generate a valid transmission packet, the attacker may fail if the attacker does not have information on the last accepted counter value by the target lock. This is a significant challenge for brute force attack. It will talk in lockpicking stories. The sniff and lock scenario begins with the attacker installing a sniffing tool around the apartment or near the door. Using the scratch threshold, the attacker can set the physical range for the packet correction. Once the signals are captured, the attacker extracts the target device IDs and counter value from the signal. Based on this value, the attacker generates the next code packet and sends it to the next target device. Let me show you a demo video of the sniff and unlock the door. In our talk, a lockpick attack is manipulating the message open door lock without sniffing. This attack uses a brute force method where the attacker sequentially tries possible ID value to find the right one to unlock the door. To successfully execute this attack, there is a crucial requirement: the door lock has to always accept the version message, even if they don't know current counter value. Let me give you an example. If attacker chooses a counter that is before last accepted counter, it will be rejected. In most products, if the attacker chooses a counter value that is too far in the future, the door lock will reject the message. Eventually, the attacker should ideally choose a counter value that is as close as possible to the last accepted counter, but this can be difficult. This means that even if attacker can generate a valid packet, the attack may fail if the attacker does not have information on the last accepted counter value by the target door lock. But the most of door locks should design to accept code even if the received is sync counter value are not strictly consecutive, because they ensure that the code is accepted even if the transmitter has been turned on multiple times. However, this synchronization feature is designed to accept value within a specific range of counter value for convenience. By limiting the acceptable range, it helps prevent unauthorized access to door lock, although not all products include this feature. Ultimately, our forged message must be accepted by the door locks deterministically in order for the attack to be successful. Fortunately, under specific conditions, we discovered that door locks are designed to accept counter value outside the expected range. When a series of strictly consecutive counter is received by DORA, the system undergoes forced synchronization. It means that the forged message would be accepted by DORA deterministically if the attacker does not know the last accepted counter value. The number of consecutive counter transmission is required for forced synchronization may vary depending on the specific implementation used by different vendors. This table shows the number of consecutive counter code transmission required for synchronization organized by vendor. If more consecutive code transmission required, the attacker need to transmit more codes, which increase the overall attack time. Therefore, in the case of vendor B, the attacker would need to transmit the 3 consecutive code transmission for the doorlock to synchronize and accept. The lock picking without snipping scenario begins with the attacker installing a code breaker around the apartment or near door. This attack can provide a significant window of opportunity of thief, as they can be carried out without leaving visible sign of forced entry or triggering alarms. Although most doorlock systems have a limited receiving capability due to their low symbol rate, in this case, it takes about 10 hours to try all possible values starting from 0. However, if we can obtain ID correspond to certain doorlock in apartment complex, we may have some opportunities to narrow down the search range to some extent. We can use this obtained ID to set the initial search ID value and start our search from that point, which could potentially save us time and effort in our search. Next, we have prepared a simple demo video of lockpicking attack. A new variant attack called loop playback has been confirmed as feasible in doorlock system and like rollgem and rollback attacks. In modern digital doorlock, lockpicking attack can be easily exploited by snipping a single signal if the signal architecture type is unknown. If ID barrier sequential or have limited variation, attacker can easily initiate the brute force attack to guess the target ID value. And also, forced synchronization process of counter is also a key factor for brute force attack. Even In unexpected events, doorlock should not accept a large counter value exceeds the specific range. RF security testing is essential for wireless system, and security through obscurity is not a solution. System must be designed to be resilient to attacks, even if the attacker knows how they work. Although it may not be the best approach, I believe that assigning unique key to each product is a better secure approach in DORA. Of course, using secure encryption algorithm is essential. Thank you very much for listening.